Thank you for joining us for our Administrative Lease Tracker video. Compass Sales Solutions Lease Tracker module provides the advanced tools you need to accurately track your leases. By combining all of your current lease portfolios into the lease tracker, you can alert your sales reps to follow up on expiring leases, as well as run various reports to ensure current leases do not expire. To access the lease tracking tool, you're going to select Lease Tracker under your Modules drop-down. This is the form that will populate. There are different security levels as far as who can see what within these radial dials. So corporate administrator and regional administrator only areas are import leases, reconciliation, the mapping tool, and the ability to activate and inactivate leases. Manager level and higher will be able to assign reps and activity creation. So what your reps are going to be able to see is the search button, the detail reports below here, and then they would also be able to see lease portfolio reports, which we're going to get into later on in this video. And they would only have access to that if their manager or admin gave them access to that report. So the first column, the second column, and the first three boxes of this column are all related to the lease. The third column, from Client Equipment ID down to inactive equipment, is based on selected machines. There's a couple columns that I wanted to point out to you. One is the dealer buyout. The buyout to the dealer who initiated the lease with the leasing company. If it is a CPC lease, they usually forgive the maintenance fees. Then we have the leasee buyout, which is typically the cost to the customer to own the equipment. Then we have your upgrade amount, and the upgrade amount is total of upgrade to the customer. The customer must sign the lease with the same leasing company, and the equipment usually goes back to the leasing company. Then we have our inactive lease button and our inactive equipment button. The reps can type into the memo not mapped area, but any notes in this section they would not be able to edit or change. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is go to your mapping tool. This is really the most important part of Lease Tracker. Once you get your spreadsheet mapped for however many financial institutes that you're using, it's usually done. They don't usually change their Excel layout. So you're going to want to, for each of your financial institutes that you're using, you're going to want to map the spreadsheet that they provide to you. So what you would do is click on Add New and give it a name. And enter OK. Now that's been added up here. So we can go ahead and click on that. And if you notice, there are only 4 required fields. That would be the ERP number, lease number, maturity date, and serial number. However, you notice there are a lot of other fields here that can be filled in. So as much information as you want to populate into your lease tracker, you're going to continue mapping down here. Okay? So if you want everything that's available to be mapped in, to be pulled in when you do your import, make sure that you map in those areas. Okay? The one field that you're going to have to add to the spreadsheet yourself would be the ERP number. Financial institutes will not have that column provided on your spreadsheet when you get it. Now the lease number, of course, will be on there. It may not be called lease number. It may be called account number, something like that. And it doesn't have to match exactly, but your mapping does have to match to the column that you're going to pull from. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull up the spreadsheet that we're going to map. Okay, this happens to be a U.S. bank spreadsheet. If you scroll over, you see all of the columns labeled up at the top. And if we want all of those columns to pull in, we're going to have to map all of them. Here's your maturity date. I believe that's one that needs to be pulled in. But if you notice, there's no ERP column. So what we're going to do, or what has already been done, is down here, we added the ERP number column. Of course, there's nothing in it. Okay, so let's go back to our lease tracker mapping. So the ERP number column is AX. So we're going to highlight that and find our AX to map that. We need the lease number and the maturity date and the serial number. So let's find that. Okay, we're going to have to go back a bit. Here's the serial number. The serial number is in column AG. So serial number, column is AG. Okay, we need the lease number and the maturity date. Okay, that was AG, lease number, and serial number. We just did serial number. Okay, so we need the lease number, the maturity date, it's column AA, and then we need final is the lease number, which I believe they have on here as agreement number. Okay, our agreement number is column M. Okay, so let's make this column M. Okay, mapping is very important because this is how Sherpa is going to know where to pull from and where to fill in the information that needs to be put into your lease tracker. Like I said, you're going to want to pull in as much information as you can, so you would continue on down the line till you had all of the information in that you wanted to be put in. Okay, mapping is the most important thing. Like I said, once you do have it mapped for the institution, you're good to go. You don't need to go in and change your mapping again. Okay, so we went to add new to add our lease for the name of our spreadsheet that we're going to be importing from. If I chose delete, if I clicked on sample lease and chose delete, what that's going to do is it's going to delete all of my mapping. Okay, which means that if I was going to do sample lease again, I would have to go in and remap these fields. Okay, now if I clicked remove leases, what it's going to do is it's going to remove all of the leases that I currently have in my lease tracker for sample lease. The mapping would remain, but the leases would be gone. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and close out of this, and now we're going to go to our import leases. So we're going to choose import leases. We're going to choose our mapping, And under Financial Institute, normally it can stay on Other, but if we click on this drop down, if you're using either one of these spreadsheets, you're going to want to choose that spreadsheet. And the reason being is that Compass found that there's some things that are in their Excel spreadsheet that will hinder your import. So by choosing, for instance, US Bank, that's going to put some filters on in the back that will then kind of maneuver through that spreadsheet to make sure that your import comes over correctly. But we're going to leave it on Other for this instance, and we're going to click Open and browse to where our spreadsheet is. And click Open. Now this is going to take a moment. So we have 3 buckets: leases to add, update, or delete. Sorry, no delete. Leases to add or update. Leases without an ERP number, and ERP numbers not found in Sherpa. Okay, the leases to add or update, these are the leases that have a recognized ERP number in Sherpa and are ready to import with the updated information or update if they're already in Lease Tracker. Your leases without the ERP number, these are leases that don't have an ERP number on the spreadsheet and aren't recognized as already existing in Sherpa Lease Tracker by matching the lease number and or serial number. Okay, your ERP numbers not found in Sherpa would be listed down here, and these are leases that have an ERP number on the spreadsheet, but that number isn't recognized as existing in Sherpa. So it may be a new customer whose new ERP number hasn't been added to Sherpa yet. So sometimes there's instances with your spreadsheet you may need to go through and add the ERP number on that spreadsheet rather than just leaving the column blank in order to get your import to populate over. So if you notice, these are all of the leases from the spreadsheet that it recognized that needs to be updated, added, or updated. Okay, these leases here don't have an ERP number. Okay, so we can go ahead and search ERP, which is then going to go to our eAutomate, and it's going to do a search to see if it can add the ERP number on it if it's found in eAuto. Now, by doing this, once we do it, if it does find any of the ERP numbers, it would transfer them up to this bucket. In this instance, it did not find ERP numbers for 228 records. So we're going to click OK. Now, if we'd had anything in this bucket as well, what we recommend at this point is that you export to Excel. Okay, by clicking here, if there was anything in this bucket combined with this, it's going to transfer over to an Excel spreadsheet. So we're just going to go ahead and export that. That way, later on, you can take that spreadsheet, match it up to if it is in your Sherpa database and it just needs to have the ERP number added to the spreadsheet. And if that's the case, you can just add the number onto the Excel spreadsheet and import it back in, and it would get those accounts into your database. Let me just show you what the Excel spreadsheet does look like. And this is it here. Okay. So there's a few accounts on here, most of them because there's several different machines on each one. You would just want to go in and do a little bit of research on that and go ahead and import back in. But for this instance, what we're going to do is we're going to check all, and we're going to import these in. This moves quite a bit faster than importing in. Okay, so the leases, the import has completed. So just to make you aware, the supported leasing companies and reports that are compatible with Sherpa are US Bank, Great America, DLL, and Wells Fargo. Now with Wells Fargo, you must have version 4 report level to see information and be able to export. With Great America, their lease imports, they add the first 3 digits, which will change in their portfolio, but not in your lease tracker. So we have a workaround for this, and I'm going to get to that in just a moment. So I can show you how you can update that spreadsheet, which you would need to do each time you get that spreadsheet from Great America. Okay. So we've imported the leases. There's 3 steps. After your mapping, of course, you're going to do import leases, reconciliation, and activity creation. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and do the reconciliation. And again, we're going to browse to where our lease is at again. The match option, we recommend you do lease and serial number. That way it's going to go through the same spreadsheet you already imported in, and it's going to compare leases and serial numbers for your equipment. So the serial numbers on equipment doesn't change, but the lease number will. Okay, and again, if you had one of these, you would want to choose that as well. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and browse to where we have we're going to find our spreadsheet, open it up, and again, this is going to take a moment. Now what this is doing is it's searching and comparing lease numbers and serial numbers. And this is how you would inactivate any leases that were no longer active. Okay, so this does take just a moment for it to go through. Okay, so it found 3 leases that we need to inactivate. So we're going to go ahead and check all and inactivate. This will ensure that you're keeping your lease tracker up to date with expired leases. So I'm going to close this and I'm going to browse to an account that I know we imported leases into. We'll choose St. Francis and lease tracker. Okay, maybe it wasn't St. Francis. Let me try that again. Okay, let's try U.S. Army National Guard. And we'll go into lease tracker. And here we have some leases. So if you notice this lease in red, we had to mark inactive because it was no longer an active lease. So if we go there, you can see it's been marked inactive. Okay, these other leases, and if you notice, it tells you what the equipment was, serial number. So when you're on here, that's going to be dependent on what you see here over in this location. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go to assign reps. We want to do this just to see if there's anything that we imported that does not have reps assigned to it, which did not happen. Because normally by default the lease will automatically be assigned to the single named rep, or 2 show on this report as unassigned. Okay, so we're good. Everything that we imported has an assigned rep on it already. So now what we're going to do is go to activity creation. And now what this is going to do is it pulls up the reps that had accounts that were, or leases that were imported into. And this callback date is what is presently set up within your admin tab. And I'm going to close out of this, and let's just see if we can go in here without me closing everything else. If I go, nope, I'm going to have to close this. Let me just close that, minimize this. So if I go into admin and the control panel, over here are lease end days. This is how they're set up. So it goes by months, and how many days prior to that lease expiring are you going to get that system generated activity, which will come under the account that the lease is coming up on expiration. So that's where this information comes from. Refresh that. Go back to my account. Back into lease tracker. And activity creation. So we're going to go by these days. We're going to select the reps and create activities. The activities, the lease and activities have been created. So now when those leases are coming up on expiration, those 2 reps are going to get that notification that they need to start working on those leases. Okay, the other buttons that are here, the search, which reps will have access to. They can go in and search by lease number, serial number, or equipment ID number. The doc links is going to take you to any documents that you may have stored within that account. Okay, and it's really just a shortcut to this tab. And if you notice when I click on it, there's no documents in here, and that's why we were unable to locate any documents when we were in Lease Tracker and chose Doc Links. If you need to transfer leases, which a rep will not be able to do, you would click on this, put in the account name, this lease number right here. Once I click search, we'll say it's this Woodloch Pines. We're going to transfer this lease to Woodloch Pines. Transfer. Now that lease has been moved out of here. Let me just go ahead and close this. We're going to go to Woodloch Pines. And if I go into Lease Tracker, that lease now for U.S. Army National Guard is under Woodloch Pines. So the reps are also going to have access to detail reports. The detail reports is the main section of Lease Tracker, and it's open to everyone and are just for the specific account that is currently showing. So we're in Woodloch Pines, and it would only pull up Woodloch Pine information. So the users can click for the detail of a specific selected lease or for all leases for the current account. Okay, earlier we spoke about the lease portfolio report. Okay, that can be found under reports and lease portfolio. But an admin can access this. If you want the sales reps to be able to access this, you need to go to Manage Users, Edit Users, click on the user you want to be able to access that. You can double click or you can highlight and click Edit. And if we go down, actually I think it might be over here on Reports, Lease Tracker Reports. If you have this box checked, this rep is going to be able to access that report. Okay, so I'm going to go back, refresh home, go into Reports and Lease Portfolio. Now under Lease Portfolio, if it's a sales rep, they're only going to be able to access themselves. If you're an admin, you can choose from the drop down, choose your date range, the start date, the end date, and then you have all of these reports that you can access. Summary reports, risk reports, big ticket reports, etc. And once you've made any of the choices that you want to make, and it will automatically submit the information, and it will then create a crystal report for you to look at and print out if you would like. So earlier during this video, we were talking about the Great America Lease imports. And when you're doing a CTA lease with Great America, the first 3 digits will change in their portfolio, resulting in a duplicate lease in Lease Tracker. So in order to prevent this from happening each time you import or reconcile a Great America Lease spreadsheet, you'll want to remove those first 3 digits of all leases in the spreadsheet. Once you get ready to do that, please have a look at our Administration Lease Tracker manual, as there's directions on how to do that easily with manipulating your Excel spreadsheet just a bit. Thank you for joining us for our Administration Lease Tracker video, and have a great day.